I'd like to call the Village of North Fond du Lac Board of Trustees meeting to order Monday, March 1st. Due to the state of emergency related to COVID-19, the village will have limited seating at the board meeting. In addition to the board meeting being available on cable channel 980, you are also able to dial in and listen or speak through the telephone. If you'd like to call in, please dial 920-322-6120 between 5:45 and 5:55 of the day of the meeting. Audience members are requested to sign in on the sheet provided at the registration table. Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak during discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
Duffy.
Here.
Horning.
Here.
Streeter.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Will.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Citizens participation. Citizens are to address the board only. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to items not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Any citizens wishing to be heard? Could you step up to the podium, please, and state your name and address?
Hi, my name is Casey Norton. I live at 430 Wisconsin Avenue, right here in North Fond du Lac. And I am basically just here to ask that in the future we could consider having chickens in the village of North Fond du Lac. A lot of our surrounding community neighbors do allow such things, and there are a lot of different regulations that we can look at to kind of build a plan off of, requiring permitting, not having roosters, making sure that they aren't free range. I noticed also, like with Fond du Lac, you have to be the person who owns the property. So if you are a renter, it kind of prevents you from, you know, I leave in 2 months and I'm just gonna leave my chickens here. So, yeah, I just think it'd be nice to have chickens in our community, and if we do it right, it could be a really beneficial thing to the area.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Contact info you could leave with me,
Sure.
email or something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Announcements. Number one, joint meeting with the Plan Commission on April 13th at 6 p.m. to discuss comprehensive plan.
Just a heads up to the board, if you are available, I would like to have, that we have a plan commission scheduled for April 13th as a Tuesday, 6 p.m. Starting that discussion again to get that comprehensive plan finished up. As you're aware, we're going to try and get that taken care of by September of this year. The first step in that process, I would like to have that economic development discussion we had talked about. That's kind of the next step in the process of just kind of, I would say, brainstorming session about economic development. And I do have someone scheduled from East Central Wisconsin Planning and Economic Development person that they have on staff that would kind of lead that discussion, and maybe, you know, we maybe start a couple weeks before with some handouts and things and just to start thinking about it. But I just wanted to have that more formal discussion here if anybody has any questions or concerns, or if that date doesn't work for another thing. But that is the plan right now, if that works for everyone, or if you'd like to do it a different way. But I think being the Plan Commission is really the body that leads the comprehensive plan, I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or conflicts with this date? All right, that should work.
All right,
Cool.
we'll plan on that then.
Thanks,
and,
Nick.
and there'll be more to come on that. Yep.
All right. President's business and staff reports. Library, Heather.
Thank you. I showed a few pictures from our recent Food for Fines campaign that we did for the library, and so we had a good amount of food that was turned in for that. Today was our first day with the doors open without requiring appointments, and it went very well. And, you know, we're kind of just limiting, making sure that we don't get too many people in at one time. If we do, I'm going to take the, you know, people into the back until it clears in the front. So it went very well. We didn't max it out today, but we did have maybe 7 people in at one time. So, you know, people are starting to come out, and they're excited to actually not have to make an appointment to come in. So that was good. And we're also working on getting our small group meetings back in swing. So we're going to be meeting in person for our book club coming up this month on Saturday, March 20th. So if anybody would like to join us, you'll have to let me know, because we're going to be also limiting numbers. So thank you.
Heather, how'd you get the word out? Is it mostly Facebook, or do you have, like, do you send people emails for?
I
letting you know about
don't
the
send emails.
hours?
I got it on our webpage, and we got it on our sign outside, and then also through Facebook. So
Okay, cool. Thanks, Heather.
Mhm.
Administrator Nick?
Thank you. As you saw in my report, last week was the utility audit. This week, that was Thursday, Friday of last week. And then this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the rest of the audit, includes general fund and the rest of all of the accounts. So that's always a really busy time of year to get everything taken care of prior to them pulling the information out of our accounting system. And then during the audit, there's a lot of questions and following up on a lot of things. They did it 100% remote this year, so that created a little bit of a challenge also. It maybe was a little bit easier from a timing standpoint, because it wasn't, you know, a lot of times when they're here, they'll walk in every, 10, 20 minutes and ask another question. I think they did a better job of kind of consolidating their questions, but then, of course, took a little longer to answer those questions because there was more of them. But it went well. We don't really have any reports at this time. There was no exit interview for the utility side yet. And then this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be the general fund, which is tends to be a little bit more involved because there's a lot more accounts. Bid opening for Beshot Avenue took place last week. We'll talk about that later on the agenda. We've been also, as part of that utility audit, I'm just kind of going through Mitch's stuff here too. The inventory, water inventory is always a lot of work, I should say. There's just, only in the water do we have to, by PSC regulation, do we have to inventory our stuff every year. So that's always a little bit of a process because we have a lot of parts and every little part gets counted. So it's always a process. And the DPW crew was out replacing streetlights last week. They finished trimming up some terrace trees and also doing some facility maintenance at the garage. They also have some garage doors there they need to repair and widen. So I think that's all I have then.
All right, thanks, Nick. Police Department, Darren?
Thank you. I met with Connie last week, and we were able to wrap up the Lakeside Municipal Court audit. I've been assisting with that for, I don't know, a lot of years. Got that wrapped up and got the report sent off to Nick and Chris so they can share it with the auditors. Didn't identify any issues whatsoever. Everything looks good. So, also on Wednesday last week, the PFC met for the first time since 2019. We had a lot of business that they needed to acknowledge, but probably the main point was to suggest to them the promotion of Clarissa Justman from sergeant to lieutenant. They approved that, and so she started her new duties on Saturday. So I now have a lieutenant and a sergeant vacancy. I sent out an email internally last week seeking interested candidates. They have till 4:30 this Friday to submit letters of interest, and we'll go from there. I mentioned that we had a squad out of service all week last week. It was down at Holiday getting the water pump replaced. Thankfully, it was under warranty, so it's not going to cost us anything. We finally got the car back on Friday, which was perfect timing because as of today, Squad 16 is now out of service. It's down getting stripped out because we're getting our new car, our 2021 squad, on Wednesday. So we have 3 cars again. That's all I have.
Darren, can you use the undercover ones, or don't they have everything that the regular ones do?
No, they don't. They don't have cages in them. They don't have markings on them, so you can't use them. I mean, you can use them, but you can't use them for like they're not pursuit rated, things like that. So they're mostly used for administrative purposes, going to training, things like that.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Fire EMS, Jake, welcome back.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So I've been spending a lot of my time catching up. Obviously, the world doesn't stop when you leave for a couple of weeks, but Adam and Eric Westby stepped up significantly when I was gone, so that helped out quite a bit. So they worked through, and myself, the purchasing of a lot of the capital equipment, getting it here and then getting it installed. So the power load systems and our primary ambulance got installed, and I can tell you that is definitely a fan favorite of the staff that's back there. A little bit of adjusting, but it definitely alleviates a lot of lifting when you're talking a 100 and so pound cot plus a patient on top. So definitely out of all the capital things that we budgeted for this year and even previous years, that's one that sticks out to the staff. The Knox box key secures got installed in the engines. Tyler Babler put them in. So those are up and running now. And then our hose and gear dryer came about a week and a half ago. So we had the electricians in here doing that, and that's up and running now as well. So that's all I have.
All right, thanks. John?
Jacob, looking at your reports, which are good, the only question I have, your 2021 EMS Virginia number are the exact same numbers? For example, it's a 62, year-to-date 62, then for February, 62, 62.
Oh, my totals?
Yeah, well, all my numbers, total calls, and then unit control, you have that?
I don't have a copy of me.
Here's January, here's February, they're exactly the same in their numbers, adding up. So is February different? I'm not sure.
Yeah, should be, unless it ironically is the same.
I do have a month where I have both my certain numbers are exactly identical, so it does happen. Yeah, but then.
I'll send it out after we're done here.
Yeah, because everyone's the same, so I just questioned that.
Yeah.
You can check that, please. Thank you.
Chuck?
Jake, I was wondering if sometime after our board meeting, we could come back and see that power lift. I'm interested to see how that actually operates.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Jay? Nick, you already did Public Works, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Yep, I
thank
jumped
you.
ahead there.
All right. Consent agenda. Approve the minutes from the following village board meeting from February 15th, and approve invoices and authorized checks to be drawn on the respective funds as indicated. General fund, $33,789.84. Library fund, $872.98. EMS fund, $1,470.63. Capital projects, $14,087.47. Water department, $20,302.92. Wastewater department, $1,662.05. Stormwater fund, $3,484.47 for a grand total of $75,670.36. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I got a second?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Will, second by Price to approve the consent agenda as read. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All right. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Administrative discussion and possible action on awarding the bid for the 2021 Bashad Avenue and Polk Street Improvements Project.
Yeah, I can take that. Mitch did a write-up on that. We received bids last week. The budget amount we had was $425,000. Now, just keep in mind that does include engineering. And then the engineer's estimate was $416,000 for that, what we actually bid. That does not include engineering. Our bids came in at $341,000 to $380,000. As it seems is the case, we usually try to time these bids pretty early, and it was the case with this one. Contractors at the pre-bid meeting said they were pretty hungry looking for that first job, and I think we got really good numbers again. So Paczynski was a low bid of $341,920. Paczynski has worked in the village recently, done some work. They did Winnebago Street many years ago when I was inspecting. So we're comfortable with their work, and we recommend approval of that contract to finish for Bashad and Polk Street.
Anybody have any questions for Nick? All right, what is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the Tuschinski contract for a little bit.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion by Horning, second by Duffy to approve the Machinsky construction bid of $341,920. Any other questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Number 2, discussion and possible action on approving the dismissal of the delinquent personal property taxes for the businesses no longer in business.
I can talk about that too. As you see in the write-up there, so that some of you have been on the board a while probably recall doing this at some point in the past. I don't think I've done it since I've been the administrator, but this is something that always seems to pop up around audit time. We look at these personal property taxes that were never paid. There's really no structure, fine structure, or anything in place to collect these. And if you look at the dates on some of them, they go, there hasn't been anything since 2017, which I note in the write-up. And I don't know why that is, but you look at a lot of these and, they're businesses that are no longer in operation in the village. And really, there's the likelihood of ever collecting that is very, very, very unlikely because they're not in the village anymore. So just to clean up, we have this receivable count sitting there, and it's really never going to collect any money. It's just a bookkeeping thing to clean it up. So our recommendation is to at least write off the ones that are highlighted that really are no longer in business in the village and don't expect them to be back in business in the village. And then that it really only leaves one other business out there that has some outstanding personal property. Those have been paid now in the last 3 years. That business has paid those. So, it may be worthwhile because there is no process for collection to just write them all off and start over, being that they're paid up for the last 3 years.
Question, Nick, you stated about a process. How involved is that, and is it really worth looking into?
There really is
developing
no process
There
right
is no
now.
process.
So the only option we would really have looking at, and I think Chuck even maybe had mentioned this way back, is looking at some sort of a business license in the village, which we currently don't do, where you would charge $50 a year or something to operate a business license. And then under that business license, we could make our own rules, and one of those being if your personal property taxes aren't paid to date, we could pull your business license. That's about all I know at this point without really digging into how that process would work. There are other advantages maybe to look at with that business license. We could probably do that with liquor licenses. If one of these was a establishment that had a liquor license, we could probably hold up the liquor license unless personal property taxes were paid. But there really is no state penalties associated with personal property taxes.
Is there a common thing, or other communities doing something similar that they just forgive these
Yes, I think this,
these
I mean,
property taxes?
our auditors kind of talk about this every year, so I think this is a bit of a common process.
All right, thank you.
Nick, did you use the tax intercept?
No.
Nick, no?
No, there's really, like I said, there is no state statute, so to speak, with personal property taxes. There's
Okay.
really no penalty involved.
Okay.
Chuck, do you recall anything from your time with that, that I'm misspeaking
No,
on?
I think your option, like you said, with a business license, we had toyed with that, but just never pursued it.
Yeah.
Mike?
I just got, are they billed every year on this? Or do they choose not to look at, because who's a business that's in town here that's
Yep,
going, are they billed once
I
a year?
don't, I don't even know that. I don't know the answer to that question. Chris really leads that discussion, or this process, and I don't know if they get the bill for the past years. I'm not sure. I could check into that. The rest of them obviously don't, because they're not here.
I mean, I understand the ones who are out of
Yep.
business are out of business, but the third one on the list is this a
Yep.
thriving business, and I just don't understand why they wouldn't be paid. I don't.
And like I said, they have paid that in the last 3 years now, so.
They
I
have
can
paid
check in it. They've paid their last 3 years. You can look, if you look at the year column, the last time there was any delinquencies was 2017.
Right. but
So
this
18, 19, and 20 have
The
been
third one
paid.
on the list isn't in the village anymore,
I'm sorry, you said the third one on the list.
on the list, on the top.
Yeah, and that from 2005.
Right, it's way a long time ago. I'm just kind of curious, they're still in business, they're thriving,
I'm
And-
sorry, I thought you were talking about someone else.
No, that's what I'm.
Yeah,
I
and that
understand
one,
if they're out of
like I
business
said, because they are not in the village, we cannot bill them for personal property taxes.
For previous ones,
No,
ones that unpaid,
right?
that's weird, okay. Thank you.
Chuck?
But even that's a good point, Mike, because even like the fifth one on there, I'm not sure, you know, they've not, you're current now with the last few years, but you kind of wonder, do they remember that they hadn't paid a lot of these other years? I
Yeah,
wonder
and
if they haven't even remembered that they didn't, and maybe they could.
yeah, and I'm certainly okay with that one. I mean, that's why I didn't highlight it that.
Yes.
But the other ones, I don't really see a point of keeping them.
So-
Just one more question. if I
Mike.
could. Let's go down the list, I think it's the ninth one on the list, they're no longer in business?
Not in the village. It's a different one than you're probably thinking of.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
They're in there about at least three to four times.
Yep, and they're very old.
Yep, they're very old. I just kind of, just curious how they walk away from those. Thank
So,
you.
Nick, when we make the motion, whoever makes the motion, just the highlighted ones?
That's, yeah, I would agree that if that's where we're at with that, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments regarding this item? What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make the motion that we just take the recommendation to dismiss the delinquent property or personal property tax
That are highlighted?
that are highlighted.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. You want that one, Chuck, or give it to Ann?
Ann.
No, let Ann handle it. Motion by Duffy, second by Price to approve the dismissal of the highlighted delinquent property taxes on the sheet provided. Any other questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Moving down to item H, communications. Any communications? Item I, unfinished business. Any unfinished business? Down to J, new business. Number one, unsolicited written material delivery in the village of North Fond du Lac. Nick?
That sounds like a mouthful. That, what we're talking about is a delivery of papers that really, there's no subscription for, so to speak. We all are aware that over the years, we've received plenty of complaints. I've seen, we've all seen the papers laying in the driveways and the sidewalks and the blue bags. We've had complaints of slip hazards and snow blowers being wrecked, and obviously it detracts from the look of the village, the appearance. It's there's stuff littering the sidewalks and that. So there's recently been a resurgence. It seemed like for a while that maybe had been better, and I think in the last maybe 3 weeks, really, we've had a resurgence of complaints, and I know a number of board members have received complaints. So I just wanted to have this under new business just to give you an update of where we're at. I don't think it was quite ready to put it on the agenda because we're not there. So I did send a letter. I know someone that delivers, not here but elsewhere, and that person informed me that their management seems to react to letters. We've called them several times. I did send them a letter on Friday from my office. So I'm hopeful that helps. We are also, I have been given by one of the residents the ordinance from a community that has enacted an ordinance for unsolicited written materials. We really can't stop them, but we can maybe put some rules on them. And we're really not to the point yet of having time to go through all that and figure out what that means legally, and having an attorney take a look at it and stuff and just review it quickly before we pass an ordinance. So we're working on it. I'm hopeful the letter will help in the meantime, but I think it's something I will keep pursuing. I think the village board, from what I gathered, would definitely want to pursue that. So we're working towards that, and I hope in the next month or so we'll bring that back as an ordinance.
Chuck?
I'm not sure what has changed recently too, but this publication we're talking about was always put in the reporter box. And I'd say for the last couple of weeks now, it's thrown in the middle of the
Yeah,
driveway.
and
I'm not sure what's changed.
I think it's the delivery person or lack of effort from the delivery person. So that is specifically what I addressed with them in my letter. And I did inform them that we're looking at passing an ordinance in the future, but I asked in the meantime that they, talk to their drivers and make sure that they some of the ordinance language that is in the one that I've looked at is they're to be delivered on like front steps or porches or on the property, not to be thrown in the right of way, not to be thrown on the sidewalk, not to be thrown in the driveways or in the roads. So those are all the things I mentioned in my letter, so.
Cool. Anybody have any questions or comments on this item for Nick? Yes? Sure, yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
I just wanted to like give my input that, one, I hope we do something about that because it's awful. And two, that I had been helping an elderly neighbor for some time, bringing out her garbage and bringing in her newspaper for her. I had started to call the reporter or the Action Advertiser to try to address this because she's just sitting in her house looking at her paper that she can't read out in the driveway. And I was informed that I could basically talk to them about her address specifically getting it put into her mailbox, but that the people who deliver the newspaper have been instructed not to leave their vehicles because it's an insurance issue.
Oh,
So they're being told not to get out of their cars, which is, I think, part of the problem.
oh, wow. That's
The
new.
complaints are probably increasing because now everything's wet, so you get a wet newspaper that you can't read.
Absolutely. Chuck?
That's all.
Part of that might have been during the
Thank
winter.
you.
Part of it, thank you. Part of that might be during the winter, sometimes if they're not shoveled close to the curb, you know, even the mailman struggles reaching out, and they're driving on the other side, so I mean, it might be a winter issue of not being able to get out of the cars.
Yeah, it certainly has been an issue and on and off, and even in the middle of the summer, we've had issues with it over the years. So I'm hopeful that we can get some cooperation.
John?
Whatever happened to the boxes? I have a red box that they don't put them in.
So they're in different parts of our community. I mean, where most of the places, if you have do you have a mailbox?
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you have a mailbox, you have a paper box. Now, there's many parts of this southern part of the village, there's no mailboxes.
Right.
So therefore, there's no paper boxes. Now, that's the other discussion. I mean, if you want to cause paper boxes, but then you're going to have paper boxes all up and down all these roads too that aren't currently there, so.
Can
Ann?
we require that? Is that something we could do?
I'm not sure at this point.
That was my thought too, because it would get it out of the road, I guess.
Yeah.
But I got mine stuck in my snow blower one time too, and
Yep.
I was not happy.
Well, I
at
think
all.
that's part of the problem too, is there, like you mentioned, in the winter here too, there's a bunch of them that were covered up by snow for a long time, and now the snow's melting and they're all showing up, so.
Right.
Well, Mike?
Just talked about the mailboxes, that the mailbox and the box for the paper, they haven't even been putting them in there, they just whip them in the driveway.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Right.
even if we have one, they're
So the
not
ones
putting
that,
it in there.
even if you have one.
I have one, they throw it.
I just thought that they put a couple of drop boxes out here, you know, instead of just, if they don't want to deliver the damn things, if just have it.
Oh, yeah. It's good, like by the PDQ building with,
Something,
like
if they would allow that, but I mean, some of the stores have them in, like Pick and Save and some of the gas stations in town, but for a while there, I bet you it was months I didn't even receive a paper. So,
I haven't gotten one on Florida Avenue
No,
for
so they
probably
started up
15
again,
years.
but now it's laying in the driveway and on the approach, so.
Yeah, BP does have them, extra ones. I was just in there the other day, and a resident went and got one. They said, no, we have some extras here. So they are having them.
BP has them?
BP
Okay.
did, correct.
Nick, if we ever get to that point and we have a discussion with Action Ad or the reporter, if we could get to a point and ask them if, you know, to deliver them to people that ask for them?
I did put that in my letter also.
Okay, that would be a great solution, you know?
The problem with it is, and I'll dig into this more once I get into it, but there is that whole freedom of speech thing involved with unsolicited, that stuff too, so you can't completely stop them apparently. So. We'll find out more.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have anything to add to this discussion? All right. All right, item K, adjournment. Can
Could
get
I
a
just
motion?
go back, one more other
Oh,
item under
sure.
new business?
Oh, sure.
We did have a resident about the chickens tonight. Do you want me to do some research on that and bring that back at a future agenda item?
Absolutely.
As a future agenda item? I did ask her for her contact information so I can reach out to her to get some of that other ordinance language, so.
Absolutely.
Is that what the board would like me to do?
Yep,
Yeah.
All right.
Please.
thank you. All right, moving down to item K, adjournment. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Get a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Price, a second by Will to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.